Hey, Leilani with the Magical Solution here. First of all, I want to apologize for how long it took me to finally respond to this video. Just to give you a heads up, I have a full-time job and 2 part-time jobs. When I say busy, it's an understatement, okay? It's an understatement. But I'm excited to answer this question. It is a great question, Oni. And I know I left in the comment that, this question is going to require a lot of prerequisite knowledge, and so this might be a multiple part video series, so please stick through it so that it all makes sense, okay? So let's get into it. So the very first thing that your question had that really popped out and I want to address right away is the fact that you identified that there are, in fact, several types of Espiritismo. So thank you for saying that out loud, because the landscape here is very much elitist, in the sense that if you're not practicing Espiritismo in a very specific way, then it's not Espiritismo. And unfortunately, we have to get rid of this paradigm. We have to get rid of this mindset, because, and here's the part that's going to be the prerequisite knowledge to answer your question, because number one, Spiritism, Spiritualism, and Espiritismo, which are all wrapped up together because the mother religion of this, or the mother philosophy of this, is Spiritualism, have spread all over the world. All over the world, okay? We have Espiritismo being practiced in Japan. We have Espiritismo being practiced in South Africa. We have Espiritismo practiced in India. And even within the diaspora, the Espiritismo is so varied. When we get to, Bermuda, when we get to the Bahamas, when we get to certain parts of the Caribbean, you will see Espiritismo having to do with the Guyanese, having to do with Shakti and Hindu religions. You'll see Buddhist Espiritismo. You'll see all different types of Espiritismo. Why? Because Espiritismo, Spiritism, and Spiritualism is not a religion. It is a philosophy that can be tacked on and syncretized and absorbed by any religion you would like. Or it can be a standalone philosophy and way of living that you can follow on your own, right? So it's beautiful that you brought this up, because I think a lot of people don't know this. And because of that, they also don't know that there is no wrong way to practice Espiritismo, Spiritism, and Spiritualism. There is no wrong way. Now, let's get into some of the prerequisite knowledge to answer this question. So the initial question is that when I spoke in my video, I spoke about, sanctifying space, creating sacred space, creating liminal space. I talk a lot about space, and you're right, I do. I talk a lot about that. And so you're kind of curious, like, okay, so if you're talking about space in this way, what does that look like virtually? Like, how does that make sense virtually, right? And it is a valid question and a very good question. So let's get into some of that prerequisite knowledge. So the first thing that we are going to need to understand is some of the core beliefs within Spiritism, but also some of the discoveries throughout the Spiritualism and Spiritism and Espiritismo investigations. Some of these discoveries we need to talk about. So the first core value that you will find in Spiritism is, number one, that, obviously we believe in a single source. We believe in a God, or a single source, whatever that might look like to you, a force, an energy, whatever, a single unified field of consciousness, whatever you want to call it, but we believe in that. We believe that all things are animated with spirit. All things. So in a sense, it is animistic in its core. meaning all things have spirit. Rocks, trees, the air, all of it, right? So we acknowledge the elements in this scenario, right? That all spiritual beings are on a path of progression, right? And a path of progression essentially means that we are continuously trying to improve our spirit, the spirits that immediately surround us, and the spirits that walk with us in our spiritual court, and nature, right? So these are all things that we are trying to improve on this path of progression. We believe that there are universal divine truths, and that these universal divine truths will be consistent across all mystic traditions. And so whether you want to fight about cultural differences, cultural protocols, whatever, by all means, you go on ahead and do that and waste your time and create whole think pieces about how it should and should not be practiced. But ultimately, an espiritista, a spiritist, a spiritualist, is more concerned with divine law, divine truth that then is expressed in the physical world, right? So that's another piece, right? And finally, that we believe that all spirits, whether they walk with us or not, regardless, all spirits can teach and learn from each other. And when you're on the path of an espiritista, and when you're on the path of progression specifically, you are being a collaborator with your spirits and your spiritual court to better yourself, better them, and better your environment, right? So you're using their aid, you're using their wisdom, you're using their advice, their protection, all their blessings, whatever it is that they can offer you, you are utilizing that for your betterment, etc., etc. All right, so we believe that spirits can affect our world and that we can receive guidance from them, etc. Okay, so that's some of the core stuff of spiritism and spiritualism and espiritismo, right? But then we get into some of these more discovered ideas throughout the time. Now, when I say discovered, that's a really important distinction, because again, we are on a path of progression, and so the root of spiritism and espiritismo and spiritualism, the root of it has to do with the scientific method, science, investigation, interrogation, asking questions, doing experiments, trying to figure out divine mystical law, trying to understand how this mystery functions and works, right? That's literally like the reason for the season, okay? And so to me, it's mind-boggling when I hear people not want to evolve and not want to progress, and more importantly, not want to experiment or be curious about things, because it's literally part of our core values, is to be curious about things and to investigate things and to talk to spirits and find out their opinion about things, etc., etc. So, like, to me, it's like so strange when I hear people really have a difficult time with change, you know? Okay. So there's all of that, right? So now let's get to your question. So you got some of that pre-knowledge. Now your question is about the space. How does this work? And I'm going to say this without being an asshole if I can, because I teach classes on this. People pay me for this type of knowledge, okay? So I'm not going to give it all in these videos, but I will say this. When it comes to space, all you really need to know, the key word that you need to know, is sacred geometry. Sacred geometry. That's all you need to know. All right? Now join me for part 2. We'll get into some other stuff, and I'll break down sacred geometry just a little bit more. Just a little bit. So you have something. But hopefully you found this piece of information helpful. And please, check out part 2. Again, my name is Leilani. This is The Magical Solution, and this is how we grow.